first question today is from Jessica in Denver, Colorado.
My question may sound silly, and before I ask it, I want you to know that I get so much value from your work. But I sometimes wonder why. Why are you so compelled to help people who are wired this way? What is your biggest challenge, and what is your biggest takeaway?
I'm interested in the answer to this question. And Jessica, by the way, I love this question. Let me tell you why I love the question. Because it's a difficult question. I could make it sound easy. There's a narrative overlay where, I want to help people or whatever. But really the question is the why behind that.
You're in it for the money.
Well,
and the fame.
The advertisement suck part.
Yeah, I mean, that would be true if we just peppered this whole thing with advertisements. Yes. I'm not allergic to money either, though.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to renounce that. I don't even want to renounce advertisements. I'm just kind of grossed out by them.
I mean, I am sponsored by Bob's Auto Mechanics today.
So I'd be interested. I'll give my sort of narrative overlay of this whole thing, Jessica, because I know you're asking me and Ryan isn't here today. But I'm interested in some different answers here. So I think we'll get a bit existential here with Peter in a moment. But TK, I thought we would start with you. Why do you do what you do? You help people. You feel a desire to create things that help people. Why do you do what you do?
One of the things I said last week when we were talking about why we decided to do this is a principle that I govern my life by when it comes to decision making. And that is, in the absence of any logically or morally compelling reason to do otherwise, always do what feels good to you. Always do what feels fun to you. Now, there are some logical reasons for why something might feel fun, and you say, I'm not going to do that. There are some morally compelling reasons for why something might give you pleasure, and you say, I'm not going to do that. But in the absence of that, you do what brings you joy. And so for me, work like this, helping people, it's not because I'm a saint. It's not because one day I was busy doing something else, and then the voice of God said, TK, I want you to go podcast and help people. I've always enjoyed work that was like this, even in a different context. I've always enjoyed advocating for other people's possibilities. I've always, I've heard it said before that one of the best ways to figure out what makes you come alive is to figure out what pisses you off, what irritates you, what annoys you, because that gives you valuable information about what you're hardwired to change, the kinds of problems you're likely to enjoy solving. And when I was a kid, I always got irritated when I saw someone who had more possibilities than they believed in. And whenever I saw someone with a self-defeating belief and living a life where they were stressed out, overwhelmed, sad all the time because they didn't see the possibilities they had, I always enjoyed the game of trying to convince them that they had the permission and the power to be the predominant creative force in their own lives. And so I'm playing that game. I enjoy doing this kind of work. I'm not convinced that it's the only thing that I could do, or it's the one right thing for me to do, or that it's morally good. It's what I enjoy. It's like playing basketball or playing the piano.
Pete, I brought you on the podcast a few months ago to talk about suffering, another joyous topic. Yeah. And what I've learned is that healing is often at the terminus of suffering, or suffering can lead to healing in some way. And so I think if I were to give a sort of answer that comports with how I feel today, is it feels good to see people heal. And sometimes when I create something, it helps someone heal their relationship with their stuff, their relationship with their clinging, their relationship with other people, their relationship with money, and healing those relationships, not fixing them, not repairing them, but actually seeing that healing within someone. And it feels good for me. So this isn't completely altruistic either. And I want to be clear about that. What I do isn't, I'm just serving the greater good. Yes, but it also feels good to serve the greater good in some respect. But I'm interested, why do you do what you do? Because you're a radical theologian, you're a philosopher, and you sometimes share some things that are considered to be controversial. And it seems to me to be easier to just not share those things at all.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's a good question. I was first of all thinking, what do I do? And then why do I do it? But you've said it very well. Actually, I'll have to write that down. Next time someone asks me what I do, radical theologian, philosopher. I was reminded of a story of a guy who goes on a sea voyage, and he washes up on this shore, and he goes into this town and he starts to preach, and he preaches this message. And at first, lots of people listen to him. But after he's been there for a few months, he becomes, pretty known. People stop paying attention, but still this guy keeps preaching his message. And eventually someone comes up to him and says, no one's listening to you. Why do you keep singing this song? Why do you keep preaching this message when it's obvious that nobody really is paying attention? And he said, well, at first I thought I was doing it for the people. But he said, then I realized that the message I preach is for myself. And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of our work, is that our work is often a way of self-healing, reminding ourselves of something or speaking to some dimension of ourselves. So, for example, if I'm always talking about how to embrace lack, how to kind of get free from frenetic pursuits of kind of whatever, I go well, maybe I'm the person who needs to receive the message. Just like if you write a love letter, often you don't even have to send it because you think you're writing it for somebody else, but you're really writing it for yourself. So, and even if you do send it, you probably read it 10 times, 20 times. The other person might read it once, because the love letter always, Lacan says, reaches its destination, because its destination is not the other as such, but in a sense, it's yourself.
That's beautiful.
So good.
I think about, I teach a writing class, howtowritebetter.org. It's an online writing class. And what I learned, I started teaching that a decade ago, back in 2012. And I noticed, especially the first 2 or 3 years, my writing improved dramatically from teaching the writing class. Because in a way I was beginning to, I had to pause. It's like a baker who bakes a cake and they don't know how they do it. If they need to give someone else the recipe, they have to stop and say, I need this much flour. I need to do it in this sequence. I need to bake it at this temperature, this much sugar, this much chocolate goes into the cake. But they may not know that before. And what they do is they start to refine it based on the experience of actually teaching that to someone else.
Yes.
So in a way, by teaching this to other people, I think the person that has improved and healed most is me.
Yes.
And if other people go out there and I've noticed that people tend to share what we do on the podcast. That's why we do all of these TikTok clips and Instagram clips, is because as you start to share something.
Do we have to do some dance TikToks?
Yeah,
later?
we're going to teach how to
right?
floss. It's going to be great.
Okay, all right. You're going to have to teach me the moves because I watch a lot of them, but I'm not very good at them. So
wait till the end of this. You're going to look great on TikTok.
We're going to remix just that moment right
there. No.
Anyway, Jessica, I'd love to send you a copy of our book, Love People, Use Things. It's about healing the 7 essential relationships in our lives. Ryan and I wrote this. We finished it during the pandemic. And what I realized in a way, this was a pandemic preparation manual, but in the sense that we all are going through our own individual pandemics. We have all of these tragedies with our finances. So healing the relationship with our money, healing our relationship with our values, with ourself, with other people, with our stuff. And so I'd love to send you a audiobook version. If you like our podcast, you'll enjoy the audiobook of Love People, Use Things. Or if you want the book or the ebook, be happy to send those to you as well, Jessica. Malabama will reach out to you and get you a copy of that book.
Did you enjoy this standalone Patreon highlight? If so, you can listen to full episodes of the Minimalists private podcast available exclusively on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/theminimalists or click the link in the description. Your support keeps our podcast and YouTube channel 100% advertisement free.